I remember the day I first realized I was spending more time talking to my television than to any person. It was a strange moment, one that made me question if I was truly living or just existing. When you live alone, especially in your later years, it can feel like all the usual noise of life goes quiet. At first, it seems peaceful. No one to wake you up early, no one to rush you out the door. But that calm can turn into a silence that becomes a bit too heavy. Maybe you've felt that weight too. It's not a terrible thing to enjoy solitude, but it's all too easy for solitude to slip into loneliness or wasted moments if we're not careful. And once we get used to certain habits, it can be hard to snap out of them. That's what I want to share with you today. These habits are mindsets that sneak in and end up wasting precious time during our old age, especially when we're on our own. Before we get further, I'd like to know where you're joining us from, and if you get any value from these videos, a like and subscribe would mean a lot. Knowing that you're out there, connecting from different corners of the world, gives me hope that we can learn from each other. If at any point you relate to what I'm sharing, feel free to let me know. There's something comforting in realizing we're not going through these challenges alone, even if we live by ourselves. Now, living alone can be a rewarding experience. Nobody barges in unannounced, and there's a sense of freedom in doing things on your own terms. But it can also be easy to let certain things slip. I've seen old friends decide they don't want to leave the house anymore. I've seen others obsess over petty arguments from 20 years back, as though that anger is going to change anything now. And I've had my own moments where I realized I was wasting my old age by giving energy to the wrong things or ignoring the right ones. We often don't notice these mistakes until they've drained our happiness. I'd like to talk about 5 of the most common things that can waste our later years, especially when we live alone. One thing is letting yourself get buried in clutter. It might start off as a bit of mail piling up, or a few old magazines you promised you'd read. Next thing you know, you're struggling to find a clear seat to enjoy a simple meal. Clutter doesn't always mean you're living in trash, or something drastic like that. It's the small bits of disorganization that add up until you feel overwhelmed. Whether it's the kitchen, the bedroom, or your desk area, a messy space can create a messy mind. When you live alone, there's no immediate push to tidy up unless you have company, which might not happen too often. Over time, this can steal your peace because everywhere you look, you see unfinished tasks. Even the simplest chores start to feel giant and annoying. I'm not saying you need a home that looks like a fancy design magazine, but a little order can go a long way in making each day feel brighter. You deserve to open your front door and feel calm, not stressed out by piles of stuff. When your surroundings are clear, your mind feels lighter, and you can focus on enjoying each day instead of feeling buried by yesterday's mess. Another habit that creeps in is isolating yourself from the world. Maybe you've convinced yourself you don't need people anymore, or you're tired of small talk. That's easy to understand, especially if you've had your share of disappointments or arguments over the years. But that decision to shut the door on everyone can lead to loneliness that eats away at your happiness. Human beings are social creatures, even if we're introverts by nature. We need some form of connection, a chat with the neighbor, a phone call with an old friend, or even something as simple as saying hello to the clerk at the grocery store. When you live alone, you can go days without a real conversation, and that can make your heart feel heavy. It's a kind of emotional waste of your precious time, letting the days pass by without laughter, without stories, without sharing bits of yourself. I'm not suggesting you force yourself to be the life of the party, but pick up the phone once in a while, write a letter, join a small group that meets around your neighborhood. Sometimes people think it's too late to make new friends or start conversations, but that's far from true. We still have so much life in us, and we shouldn't waste it by hiding away. Being alone physically doesn't mean you have to be alone emotionally, too. A third thing that can waste these years is holding on to regrets or grudges. We've all made mistakes, and we've all been wronged by someone. It's part of life. But there comes a point when you realize that dragging around these old grievances is like carrying a bag of rocks everywhere you go. It makes you tired, and you don't get anywhere faster. It's not uncommon to replay a scene in your head, thinking of a different outcome or a better comeback, but that doesn't change anything that happened. It only steals time from today. Letting go of regrets or old pain isn't easy, but it sure is freeing once you do. You can decide to accept apologies you never got, move on from mistakes you can't undo, and clear your heart of resentments that have stuck around like unwelcome guests. We all deserve some peace in our older years, and carrying regrets around just uses up energy that could go toward more meaningful things. It's not about ignoring your feelings or pretending past hurts didn't happen. It's about accepting them and not letting them define your remaining days. A fourth pitfall is ignoring your health until it becomes a crisis. When you live alone, no one is around to remind you about that annual checkup or to notice that you're out of breath more often. It's easy to say you'll call the doctor next week, only to forget about it until next month. Maybe you skip a meal or indulge in too many comfort foods because you're the only one eating, and there's no one else to see. Taking care of yourself can feel like another chore, but it's one of the best investments you can make in your old age. You want to be able to walk without pain, to climb a few steps without feeling like your heart will explode, and to enjoy a calm evening without worrying about unaddressed health issues. It's not just about fancy diets or rigorous exercise programs. It could be as simple as taking a daily walk around the block, remembering to hydrate, or setting reminders for doctor's appointments. Good health lets you enjoy your independence. If you ignore it, you might find yourself missing out on experiences because you're in constant discomfort or dealing with complications that could have been avoided. Being mindful of what you eat, how you move, and how often you see a doctor is a kind of self-respect. After all these years, you deserve to treat yourself well. The fifth thing that can rob you of your golden years is thinking it's too late to learn or try new things. Some folks have a knack for believing they should have tried that hobby in their youth, or that they're too old to pick up a new skill. That's simply not true. Age might slow us down physically, but our curiosity can still run wild at any stage in life. When we think we've reached the end of our learning journey, we cut ourselves off from new joys, new friendships, and new ways of seeing the world. Living alone can make it even easier to fall into this trap, because there might be no one to push you to sign up for a class or experiment with a new recipe. But imagine discovering a small passion you never knew existed: painting, writing short stories, playing the ukulele, gardening in pots on your balcony, or even reading about things you never had time for when you were younger. These aren't just hobbies. They're ways to keep your mind sharp, your heart open, and your spirit engaged. There's something quite special about staying curious. It keeps you feeling alive and interested in the world around you. Don't let yourself miss out on that spark just because of your birth year. When you step back and look at these habits, allowing clutter to take over, isolating yourself from people, holding on to regrets, neglecting your health, and shutting down curiosity, they might not seem like big deals on their own, but over time they add up and create an atmosphere that limits your joy and sense of purpose. Living alone doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy a full and meaningful life. If anything, you have more time and freedom to shape your days exactly as you want them. You can keep your space neat and cozy, welcome new friendships into your circle, free your mind of old resentments, take care of your body, and remain a student of life no matter your age. I think sometimes we fall into these pitfalls because they feel like the path of least resistance. It's easier to let the dishes sit in the sink than to wash them right away. It's easier to stay at home than to make an effort to attend a neighborhood get-together. It's easier to resent someone than to forgive them, or at least to accept that what's done is done. It's easier to watch television for hours than to go for a short walk or cook a healthy meal. It's easier to say, "I'm too old for that," than to give something new a try. But if we only chase what's easiest, we might miss out on a more rewarding way of life in our older years. We don't have to do anything extreme or heroic. We just have to remember that these small daily choices add up. Each day is a chance to do things a little differently, and over time, that can make a big difference. Living alone is not a sentence to boredom or regret. It can be a chapter in your life story where you finally have the freedom to be yourself completely. Maybe you want to rearrange the furniture at midnight or start your morning routine at 5 in the morning. You can do that without worrying about bothering anyone else. You just have to watch out for the ways you might accidentally rob yourself of the peace and joy you deserve. If you clear your space, stay in touch with people, let go of old resentments, watch out for your health, and remain open to learning, you might find these years become surprisingly pleasant. You might feel more at ease than you did decades ago, because now you know what really matters. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You just have to live with honesty and kindness toward yourself. I'm sharing these thoughts with you because I've been there, and I've seen how easy it is to slip into bad habits. But I also know we can change course at any moment. Sometimes it's just a matter of realizing that you do care about how you spend your time. If you've heard something here that struck a chord, I'd encourage you to take a small step today. Tidy up one corner of your home, dial an old friend's number, or take a brief walk outside and notice the world around you. Small actions can breathe new life into your routine. Each day is precious, and you don't want to look back and wish you had done things differently. Believe me, the regrets that come from what we didn't do hurt more than the mistakes we made while trying. Thank you for being here and keeping me company in this moment. Even though we might be miles apart, I feel that we're connected by our shared desire to make the most out of our lives. If you're living alone or know someone who is, it's my hope that these reflections will help in some way. Life has so many layers of experience, and there's no reason to stop discovering and enjoying them just because the years have added up. It's never too late to dust off that part of your spirit that longs for growth. Keep on seeking moments of joy and connection, no matter how small. Share a laugh, share a memory, and remember that living alone can be a chance to truly appreciate your own company without letting the quiet become a lonely echo. If you found any value in what I shared today, it would mean a great deal if you continued to join me on this journey. I'd love to see you again, and until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve nothing less.